Hello and welcome to ADTV, and today you catch up with us to talk you through two very important weapons in the angler's armoury, and that is the spod and the marker. Now whether you're out carp fishing, bream fishing, tench fishing, used correctly, these can get some devastating results out of your fishing. Now before I go on and talk about each individual aspect separately, I want to just touch on one of the biggest mistakes that I see with spod and marker tackle, rods and reels. Now that would be, I see a lot of people go out and spend an awful lot of money on big expensive carp rods and reels that are perhaps capable of fishing 150 yards, and then they'll spend a budget end on the spod and marker rods and reels which are perhaps only capable of fishing 80 yards, and as you can see there's just a complete imbalance of tackle. And if you can't feature find and bait up at the same distance as what you're capable of fishing with your actual rods, there's not really much point. If you try and see what I mean there, just get your balance between your fishing rods and your spod and marker reel setup. So with that out of the way, we'll talk to you a bit individually about the marker first, because this is probably the first thing you're going to get out of the bag when you're investigating a new water or a new swim. And in essence, what the marker float allows you to do is find all those little spots that are under the water that you can't see when you turn up. Now obviously on the surface you can see good areas, but you can't see what's under the water. So once you've picked your tackle, you've got your balancing spod rod and your reel, you're going to load that up with braid. Now that's very important because you need to be feeling all the little vibrations that are on the bottom that transfers through the rod and into your arm, and without braid that becomes very hard to feel. So using braid is very important with spod and marker float fishing. As far as marker setups go, there's so many on the market. Just pick one that suits you, but I would definitely use a feature finding lead. Now a feature finding lead is, they normally have some sort of spikes or bobbles on, and again what I was saying, if you're bumping over gravel, the more surface area and bobbles you've got on your lead, the more you'll feel transferring through your rod. And then with float wise, I would just pick something that's very visual. Fishing at a long range, you want to be able to see it nice and easy. So that's the actual tackle. Like I said, there's loads of different variations on the market. Pick something that's good, get used to it, and just stick with it. Now what you're actually trying to do with marker float fishing, like I said, is find those little sweet spot areas. So you're going to be casting it around quite a lot, making a little bit of noise unfortunately, but once it's out of the way you've done it and you can log it for future reference. There's probably three areas of fishing that you're probably looking for. A lot of people like to fish on gravel bars. There's obviously silt and clay and weed. They're basically the main areas that you're looking to fish for. And if I could try and explain what they feel like to anyone who hasn't done much spodding and markering. If you're bumping over gravel, you'd probably feel little vibrations and knocks on your rod tip, and you know that that's gravel. Clay and silt pretty much just feel like you're almost just pulling it over a shiny surface. It's quite smooth, comes back with no knocks. I would guess that it's going to be clay or silt. You're never ever going to get this spot on, but this is a rough guide. And then if you're casting out and it's locking up, you know, and it's jagging, you know you're probably in weed. Now all of these situations are fishable. You just need to adapt your rig to what you've done. So your marker float is telling you what you're fishing on basically, and then obviously your float is there for depth. So I would probably cast it out to a marker on the far side, and every 5 or 10 yards stop, just pay some line off, let that float up, and obviously count how many feet's the easiest way, how many foot of water you're fishing in, and that's what the float allows you to do. I think it's becoming less popular now not to use a float, but it does give you an accurate depth reading with a float on. So that's the idea of the market. Gets you to find all those little spots that you didn't even know were there, and you can spend a little bit of time doing this, as long as you're not crashing it in front of people's swims. Build yourself a really good picture, and you're done then. You've done that swim, log the details down, you don't have to do that again. So then once you've done that, you're probably going to come up the bank and you're going to wrap it around some distance sticks, because you need to know how far out each spot is, because you need to clip your spod rod up to it and your fishing rods up to it. So distance sticks are perfect for this. So you put your line under your line clip once you've found your spot, wrap it around your distance sticks, and again log down how many rod wraps you're fishing. And then this moves us nicely onto your spod. So you know where your spot is, you need to get some bait out there now. ready for your session to unfold and hopefully get some fish on the bank. So back round the distance stick with your spod rod and clip it up to exactly the same distance as your marker. So you know, as long as you're casting to a point on the far side, you're going to be hitting exactly the same spot because you're under the line clip that went round your distance sticks. Now again, spod rods, like I said, match your rod and your reel, and again you'll be using braid. There's a couple of little differences that I would do. Now with your spod, it's a heavy weight, you cast a lot, it's very repetitive, so one, to protect crack-offs and any mishaps, I would use a braided shock leader tied onto your actual braided mainline. That's just perhaps, I don't know, a 40-45 pound shock leader. It's going to absorb all those constant lunges of spodding, and like I said, it will save any mistakes going on. And then also, to protect yourself, I would put a finger stool on of some description. Repetitive casting with braid really does cut into your finger, and it is quite painful if you've never experienced it. So a finger stool is quite important as well. As far as actual tackle goes for spodding, there's there's probably three main ones now. Is the traditional spod, was used and has been used to great effect for many, many years. There's the spom, which is probably the most popular now, if I'm being honest. And there's also the impact spod, which is kind of a variation between the two. So again, this is going to have to be something that your own choice. Pick which one of those is the best for you, and just stay with it. You get used to something. Once you're happy with it, it's the way forward. That allows you to put out, this is the beauty about spoms and spods, is they allow you to put out literally all manner of baits. Pretty much everything will go in them. You've clipped your spot, you just cast in, put out your desired quantity, and you now know you're ready for your session. You've found your spot, you've baited it up. Hopefully it's all now in the fishing god's hand, and hopefully you're going to be putting fish on the bank. So if you haven't done much of it, put those little few tips together and get out there and give it a go, and hopefully with yourself as well, that's going to be putting more fish on the bank.